Yo, hoop fans, your sideline sage, Tips and Streams, is lacing up once again. On deck, deep dives into the freshest NBA clashes, ready to set the planks ablaze. But before we jump the ball, be sure to hammer that subscribe on our YouTube channel to keep hooked with our sharp forecasts and prime selections. All right, let's bounce into today's NBA Crystal Ball reads. The first prediction for today is for the game between Philadelphia 76ers and New York Knicks. As the twilight descends on Madison Square Garden this Tuesday evening, the stage is perfectly set for an electrifying showdown in the Eastern Conference, featuring the Philadelphia 76ers going head-to-head with the New York Knicks. The Knicks, with the advantage of playing on their home turf and stepping into the game as the favorites with a 5.5-point lead, are fired up to make amends for their recent narrow defeat in a defensive showdown that kicked off this two-part series. Amidst battling key injuries that have thrown their usual game plans into disarray, both teams have seen unsung heroes rise to the occasion. Without their MVP hopeful Joel Embiid and the dynamic Therese Maxey, Philadelphia is banking on Tobias Harris and the reinvigorated Kelly Oubre Jr. to carry the mantle. Their stellar defensive performance, especially in limiting the Knicks to their season low in points, showcases their gritty determination. Despite offensive hurdles, the Sixers eked out a victory, capitalizing on their rivals' mistakes and converting turnovers into critical points. This defensive prowess, meshed with opportunistic scoring, highlights the Sixers' ability to pivot and thrive under pressure. Conversely, the New York Knicks, despite setbacks from injuries to stalwarts like Julius Randle and OG Anunoby, have displayed their capacity for explosive plays, notably from three-point land. Dante DiVincenzo, in particular, has been instrumental in injecting vitality and depth into the Knicks' offensive strategies, enhancing their three-point shooting capabilities. Yet, a recent dip in shooting accuracy and struggles with ball security pose questions about their consistency in delivering offensively when it matters most. This face-off at Madison Square Garden not only intensifies due to the historical rivalry, but also because the home court advantage historically tips the scale. The Knicks' commendable three-point shooting and defensive strategies, combined with their measured approach to game tempo, render them a formidable adversary in their domain. The current trajectory of both teams, alongside their head-to-head stats and betting insights, points to a thriller. While the Sixers have shown tenacity against the odds, especially in away games, the Knicks' mastery over game pace and their leverage of the home court could be decisive. Defensive might from both ends suggests the game's outcome may well hinge on pivotal moments from stars like Harris and DiVincenzo, with the added X factor of returning players from injury. In essence, given the Knicks' slight supremacy in three-point efficiency, defensive solidity, and the strategic edge of playing at home, they stand a good chance to clinch the win. However, the Sixers' knack for beating the odds, especially in a tight contest, should not be overlooked. Brace for a defensively charged clash with flashes of offensive ingenuity possibly tipping the scales. The forecast leans towards a Knicks victory in a tight skirmish, but expect the 76ers to bridge the 5.5-point gap, indicating a closely matched battle. The anticipated total points may trend lower, reflecting the defensive fortitude of both squads and their scoring patterns. My bet is on the Knicks to take the win, yet for the 76ers to cover the 6-point spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Washington Wizards and Memphis Grizzlies. Basketball fans, get ready to be on the edge of your seats as the Washington Wizards and the Memphis Grizzlies gear up for an electrifying face-off. In the heart of Memphis, this game is set to unfold a narrative of two squads charting distinct courses in this NBA season's journey. Fresh off a clutch win over the Heat, with a scoreboard flashing 110-108, the Wizards flaunted their sharpshooting prowess, draining 48.1% from the field and nailing 16 treys out of 39. Their knack for pilfering the ball and a disciplined stance on fouls were instrumental in their win. Kyle Kuzma stepped up big time, dropping 32 points and grabbing 9 rebounds, despite the Wizards' rocky road this season, with a record of 11-53. Their defense, however, is leaking points, averaging 123.9 against per game, which has them trailing in the league defensively. On the flip side, the Memphis Grizzlies are in the throes of a rebuild, underscored by their recent 124-93 tumble against the Thunder. Their shooting was off the mark, hitting only 41.0% from the field and 33.3% from downtown. Yet, G.G. Jackson II shone brightly with a 30-point haul. Despite the uphill battle, the Grizzlies are holding a slightly steadier record of 22-43, with their defense clinching the 9th spot in points allowed per game, revealing a glaring contrast to their offensive hiccups. Peering into the past matchups, the Wizards have a commendable track record against the Grizzlies, boasting a 4-1 against the spread in their recent 5 tussles. But their road games and skirmishes with Western Conference contenders reveal some chinks in their armor, especially when venturing into Memphis territory. Considering the defensive gaps and the Grizzlies' stronghold at home, where they've consistently bested the Wizards, the scales tip in favor of Memphis. The Grizzlies' knack for clamping down on scoring, coupled with the Wizards' defensive woes, hints at a Memphis victory, likely covering the 3-point spread laid out by the bookies. Both teams, however, have a penchant for lighting up the scoreboard, with the Wizards playing in bouts that have cruised past the total points line in 4 of their last 6 games. Given their recent forms and defensive stats, expect this showdown to burst through the 219-point over-under threshold, setting the stage for a high-octane clash. Wrapping up, despite both squads battling their demons, the Memphis Grizzlies' defensive fortitude and the leverage of playing at home peg them as the frontrunners to snag the win and beat the spread. The history of high-scoring face-offs and their current metrics foretell a game that will vault over the over-under line, with my money on the Memphis Grizzlies to triumph and cover the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Indiana Pacers and Oklahoma City Thunder. In the charged ambiance of the Paycom Center, the stage is set for a thrilling showdown between the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, promising a dazzling interconference clash. The Pacers, riding high in 7th in the Eastern Conference and fresh off a victory, come into this game buoyed by optimism. Yet, their patchy performances away from home loom as a formidable obstacle against the Thunder, the Titans of the Western Conference. The Pacers, despite their struggles on the road, have dazzled with their offensive might. Leading the league in field goal percentage and buckets, and ranking impressively in 3-point shots, their playmaking is top-notch, as highlighted by their stellar assist-to-turnover ratio. With Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam, each averaging upwards of 20 points a game, they're poised to challenge the Thunder's defense. Conversely, the Thunder, buoyed by an outstanding home record and a current winning streak, boast a formidable offense themselves, with impressive field goal and 3-point percentages. Led by Shai Gilgeous, Alexander's scoring brilliance, they're ready to exploit the Pacers' defensive frailties. Recent encounters in Oklahoma City hint at a neck-and-neck battle, with both teams trading victories in recent seasons. However, the Thunder's solid home performance and form might tilt the scales in their favor. Injuries could be decisive. The Pacers will miss key players like Doug McDermott and Benedict Mathurin, with Jalen Smith's participation in doubt. The Thunder might be without Jalen Williams, a significant loss against a potent Pacers offense. Given the Pacers' road challenges, especially in the daunting Paycom Center, and their defensive issues, the Thunder's balanced attack is expected to dominate. While Indiana's offense might keep the game competitive, Oklahoma City's home advantage and efficiency should see them emerge victorious and beat the spread. With the scoring capabilities of both teams and their recent form, this game is shaping up to be a high-scoring spectacle. Expect the total points to exceed the bookmakers' over-under, fueled by the Thunder's and Pacers' offensive prowess. In summary, the Thunder's comprehensive team strength, coupled with their stellar home record and the Pacers' away game struggles, point to an Oklahoma City victory that covers the spread. The anticipated offensive display should push the total points beyond the set margin, promising an electrifying, high-scoring encounter. My money's on the Oklahoma City Thunder to clinch the win and cover the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Houston Rockets and San Antonio Spurs. In the electrifying world of the NBA, an epic showdown is about to unfold as the Houston Rockets, with a season tally of 29 wins and 35 losses, gear up to take on the San Antonio Spurs, who are currently standing at 14-50. This clash promises to be a spectacle, with the interplay of recent form, strategic depth, and individual flair set to decide the victor. The Rockets are riding high after a spirited 112-104 win against the Sacramento Kings, showcasing their resilience and strategic depth. Despite a middling position in the standings, they flashed signs of dominance, clinching victory in 4 of their last 5 appearances. Averaging 113 points with a shooting precision of 45.6% from the field and 34.9% from the three-point line, they've proven they can set the scoreboard ablaze. Yet, they're hitting the hardwood minus Alperen Sengun and Cam Whitmore, key players whose absence could hamper their scoring and rebounding strength. On the flip side, the Spurs, coming off a doubleheader with the Golden State Warriors, are in the throes of a rebuild, as evidenced by their 14-50 record. Despite their struggles, they've flashed potential, especially offensively, averaging 112.6 points with a shooting accuracy of 46.3% from the field and 35.1% from beyond the arc. Victor Wembanyama's towering presence, along with Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson, has given the Spurs a beacon of hope in a tough season. Delving into the history of matchups in the host city sheds light on tonight's game dynamics. The historical clashes provide insight into team dynamics and the psychological advantage the home court often brings in the NBA. Injuries are set to shape the game's landscape, with Sengun and Whitmore's absence for Houston and Osman and Bassie for San Antonio, prompting strategic shifts and chances for bench players to shine. Statistical analysis, especially examining home versus away performance, paints a fascinating picture. The Rockets face the challenge of keeping their scoring prowess alive without key players, while the Spurs look to leverage their rebounding and capitalize on second-chance points, exploiting the Rockets' weaknesses. The prediction sways in favor of the San Antonio Spurs, not just beating the spread, but snagging a win over the Rockets. The Spurs' edge in exploiting home court advantage and the Rockets' depleted lineup tips the scales toward San Antonio. The anticipated bump in rebounding and second-chance points could tip the scales in a closely fought battle. Despite being in a rebuild, the Spurs' recent cohesiveness could rattle the Rockets. In summary, considering the Rockets' dampened firepower and the Spurs' edge in home advantage and rebounding prowess, the prediction leans towards the San Antonio Spurs beating the 4-point spread and perhaps clinching the win. With the expected offensive showdown, and considering both teams' scoring tendencies and defensive vulnerabilities, the game is likely to exceed the 224.5 points margin. My money's on the San Antonio Spurs to beat the spread, and I'm banking on the over for total points. The next prediction for today is for the game between Boston Celtics and Utah Jazz. As the Boston Celtics gear up for a showdown with the Utah Jazz at the Delta Center, we're in for a clash that transcends the average game. It's a duel of distinct strategies and form, riding high on wins against the Suns and Trailblazers, only to stumble slightly against the Nuggets. The Celtics are showcasing their prowess as a top-tier scoring force this season. They're lighting up the scoreboard with an average of 120.7 points on 48.5% shooting, proving lethal from downtown and in scoring efficiency. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are at the forefront, with Tatum netting an average of 26.9 points and pulling down 8.5 rebounds, while Brown is adding 22.8 points and 5.6 rebounds a game. Their sniper-like accuracy from beyond the arc, leading the NBA with more than 16 threes per game, has been jaw-dropping. On the other hand, the Utah Jazz, despite recent slips against the Bulls and Nuggets, are still putting up a commendable 117.7 points per game. Yet, their defensive struggles are hard to overlook, surrendering 120.7 points on 48.6% shooting, positioning them near the league's basement in terms of defensive efficiency. Lauri Markkanen and Colin Sexton shine for Utah, but their faltering perimeter defense might just be their Achilles heel against a Celtics team that excels in long-range bombing. The Celtics defense, conceding only 109.8 points per game and ranked 5th in the NBA, is adept at curtailing opponents' three-point and in-the-paint scoring. Their knack for defending cleanly without drawing fouls stands as a significant edge, particularly against a Jazz squad that thrives on charity stripe scoring. Despite Boston's historic struggles in Salt Lake City, dropping their last 3 matchups with the Jazz, the potential absence of Tatum and Brown in a back-to-back game scenario looms large over their prospects. However, the Celtics' bench depth and strong game starts, leading the league in first-half points, might set the stage early on. Yet, Utah's knack for offensive rebounds and creating second-chance opportunities could keep the game competitive. weighing both squads' stats and the Celtics' superior defense and three-point shooting, the scales tip in Boston's favor, especially if Tatum and Brown are in action. Nonetheless, the Jazz's home court and the Celtics' potential back-to-back fatigue suggest a tighter battle than the stats might indicate. With Boston's defensive fortitude and Utah's challenges at both ends, if Tatum and Brown make it to the court, anticipate the Celtics to surmount their recent Salt Lake City hurdles and beat the spread. Yet, it's wise for punters to eye the injury updates as the game approaches. Without the Celtics' star duo, the Jazz might just beat the spread and snatch a victory. In sum, with Tatum and Brown in the lineup, the Boston Celtics are predicted to triumph and overcome the 6.5-point spread. The deciding factors will likely be Boston's three-point mastery and defensive strength against a Jazz team vulnerable on the perimeter. Bettors, keep a watchful eye on both teams' injury reports before placing your stakes. The next prediction for today is for the game between Minnesota Timberwolves and Los Angeles Clippers. In a high-voltage matchup that hints at possible playoff drama, the Minnesota Timberwolves are gearing up to take on the LA Clippers in the electrifying atmosphere of the Crypto.com arena. Sporting a commendable 44-20 record, the Timberwolves are eyeing a prime playoff spot, while the Clippers, hot on their heels with a 41-21 tally, are eager to establish supremacy on their own turf. Breaking down the offensive firepower, the Timberwolves have been lighting up the scoreboard with an average of 114.1 points per game, hitting 47.5% of their shots, showcasing a high-octane scoring engine. Their 35.5% shooting from downtown, along with dishing out an average of 29.3 assists, underscores their knack for opening up the floor and finding the net. Yet, their track record against the spread on the road casts a shadow over their ability to stay consistent under pressure. The Clippers, with a slight upper hand in scoring at an average of 114.4 points and a stellar 49.2% shooting accuracy, demonstrate their ability to sink baskets more efficiently. Their 36.6% precision from the three-point line, combined with solid defensive stats, averaging 7 steals and 5.5 blocks per game, paints the picture of a team that's dangerous on both ends of the court. A closer look at the stats, focusing on home versus away performances, underscores the Clippers' dominance at the Crypto.com arena with their enhanced shooting and defensive metrics. In contrast, the Timberwolves seem to falter on the road, especially when betting spreads are concerned. Past encounters in Los Angeles have seen both teams trading wins, but the Clippers' slightly better shooting stats and defensive chops tilt the scales in their favor for this face-off. Injury updates could significantly influence the game's outcome, testing each team's depth and adaptability in compensating for absent key players. Anthony Edwards' role in catalyzing the Timberwolves' offense will be pivotal. His prowess in slicing through defenses could turn the tide. In summary, although the Timberwolves pack a punch with their dynamic offense, the Clippers' blend of sharpshooting, defensive sturdiness, and home court advantage position them as the favorites. Their recent form and statistical superiority in key areas suggest they're poised to not only win, but also cover the 5.5-point spread. Anticipate a scoreboard blitz, but with the Clippers' edge at home and strategic advantages, they're tipped to triumph in this tightly contested battle. My money is on the LA Clippers to clinch the victory and beat the 5-point spread. The last prediction for today is for the game between Milwaukee Bucks and Sacramento Kings. Get ready for a blockbuster at the Golden One Center, where the Milwaukee Bucks lock horns with the Sacramento Kings in a matchup that's far from your average regular season dribble. The scene is set with both squads bringing their unique playbooks and star power to the court. The Bucks, boasting a solid 42-23 record, have been tearing up the court, especially during their stint in California, bagging a victory against the Clippers but hitting a snag against the Warriors and Lakers. Meanwhile, the Kings are holding court in the 7th slot in the Western Conference with a 36-27 tally, eager to rebound from a stumble against the Rockets, despite Domantas Sabonis putting on a clinic. Milwaukee's scoring machine, fueled by the powerhouse pairing of Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard, has been unstoppable, clocking in at 120.9 points on a 49.1% shooting spree. Lillard, in tandem with Antetokounmpo, has been clutch, dominating when it counts. Under coach Doc Rivers, the squad's defense has tightened up, promising a defensive clash for the ages against the Kings. Sacramento, with firepower of their own, averages 118.2 points on 48.4% shooting, spearheaded by De'Aaron Fox. With Sabonis and Malik Monk stepping up, the Kings have shown they're not to be underestimated, ready to take on the big guns, despite Monk pointing out the team's home court hiccups. The Bucks have the upper hand in shooting precision and rebounding, key for snagging those second-chance points, yet the Kings' knack for rising to the occasion, especially with their crowd behind them, makes them a tough contender. The last face-off saw the Bucks narrowly claim victory in a scoring spree, hinting at another shootout. With both teams proven to light up the scoreboard, we're in for another point-packed showdown. With back-to-back games affecting team stamina, the readiness and vigor of both squads will be pivotal. Milwaukee's well-rounded offense and bolstered defense, paired with Sacramento's home court zeal, set the stage for an epic saga. Milwaukee's offensive prowess and defensive rebounding, coupled with their current momentum, positions them as the front-runners. Sacramento's grit and home advantage will make it a close game, but Milwaukee's sharpshooting and strategic defense are likely to clinch the win, covering the spread and continuing their formidable streak. In essence, while the Kings will give it their all, fueled by their previous tight game, the Bucks' form and stats give them the edge. Brace for a high-octane clash, with the Bucks taking the win and the scoreboard surpassing 235.5 points.